Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, May 9th, 2018. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by the people's champ himself, Matt Baxendell. Bax, we're going to talk about Joe Burrow and Dwayne Haskins and Dwayne Haskins and Joe Burrow and Tate Martell and Tate Martell and Joe Burrow and Dwayne Haskins on today's show. Let's start with Joe Burrow. When you found out yesterday that Joe Burrow was transferring, what was your reaction, Bax?
I mean, I was thoroughly unsurprised. I guess I was expecting it to be a little bit close. Though OSU just had their graduation, though. I mean, that's the thing. I'm a product of the quarter system when OSU didn't graduate till June, so my mental clock is totally off. I keep forgetting these kids did just graduate. You know, Joe just graduated, and now he's a free agent, able to go anywhere he wants. In a month's time, he's going to be enrolling at his college of choice. I still firmly think it's going to be Nebraska. They can talk about how much they love some true freshman, or they can get a top 5 quarterback in the conference immediately. I know which one they're going to take. You know, this isn't surprise. It's a little bit of sadness because we all love Joey B. He's a good player, a good kid. He didn't do anything wrong here. He just happened to be, you know, he broke his hand at the wrong point in time and then fell behind a guy who beat Michigan. I mean, there's not much more you can say. Joe Burrow is going to be an excellent college quarterback for Nebraska or wherever the next 2 years. I wouldn't be surprised to see his name called in the NFL draft down the line. He's an excellent, excellent quarterback. You know, this isn't a surprise to me, though. I think Urban was desperately hoping he could keep on to both Burrow and Haskins going into the fall, but Burrow knew what was going on here. Bucknuts Morning 15s have we talked about what Joe Burrow was going to do. And this is what it is. We knew he was going to transfer because the writing was on the wall. It was going to be Haskins. I don't blame him one bit either. I'm going to wish him the best of luck. If he goes to Nebraska, I hope he doesn't beat the Buckeyes in the horseshoe this fall. And, hey, Ohio State still has an exceptional quarterback in Haskins behind him, and let's just hope Dwayne Haskins can stay healthy this season.
So the Dwayne Haskins era officially started May 8th, 2018, yesterday.
Should have been sooner.
You know.
Should have been sooner.
I thought the latest it was like right after the Cotton Bowl, nothing against Joe Burrow, and the way it worked out, I'm glad they gave Joe Burrow every opportunity because he's going to be a hell of a quarterback. Whoever gets him, whether it's Nebraska, Florida, whoever, is going to be getting an absolute gem. But talk about great problems to have. I remember back in '99, my final year in college. I'm a huge Buckeye fan. Imagine that. I've been a huge Buckeye fan since I was like 4 years old. Final year in college, coming off a great '98 season, had to replace Joe Germain, and it was like Buckeyes have to choose between Austin Mockerman and Steve Belisari. That's our choice.
Woo!
That's a bad problem to have right there. This was a good problem to have. And, yeah, it sucks losing Joe Burrow, but because I think he's going to be tremendous wherever he goes. He would have been tremendous at Ohio State. I just think Dwayne Haskins, and I'm sure this is what it came down to with Urban Meyer and Ryan Day and everybody else, Joe Burrow is tremendous. Dwayne Haskins is just a notch above, and it sucks losing Joe, but, I mean, great problem to have, and now the Dwayne Haskins era officially begins.
You know what, Dave? Let me throw this out there for people who are upset that Burrow left. If I had told you before the 2015 season had started that Ohio State was only going to keep one of Cardale Jones and J.T. Barrett for that season and the other one was going to transfer after spring or something, nobody would have thought it was a good idea. They all would have thrown a fit. They would have said, oh, my God, you can't lose those guys. JT was 5th in the Heisman, and Cardale won the title, and oh, my God. Well, in retrospect, I wish one of them hadn't been there because that musical quarterback system that year was a complete disaster. I'll go to my grave believing that if Ohio State had settled on a quarterback and just stuck with him and just ran the offense through Zeke like they should have, that team was a championship team without a shadow of a doubt. 2015 was Urban Meyer's best team, even if it didn't win a title. But they didn't pick a quarterback. They had 2. Therefore, they had none. Well, guess what? Instead of Dwayne Haskins looking over his shoulder at the potential of making one mistake and getting yanked this year, or Joe Burrow desperately trying to throw those heaves like he did in the spring game just to show everybody, look how good I am, and not running the system, we have a quarterback who's going to be the starter. He's going to be the man. We know how good he is. He came back and beat Michigan on the road. I can't say anything more than that. Dwayne Haskins, in my mind, is already 1-0 against Michigan. From the moment he came into that game, in my mind, is when the Haskins era should have fully began. But, we already know what he can do now. And Dwayne Haskins is an NFL quarterback. Dwayne Haskins is a national championship caliber quarterback. And that's just the simple truth of it. Joe Burrow is an excellent quarterback, and I will miss him. And if it's at Nebraska or UCLA or wherever he ends up, somebody's going to really, really be happy to have him. But Ohio State has a quarterback in Dwayne Haskins right now that is the most physically talented quarterback that they've had at Ohio State. Gosh, as a pure passer, I don't even know since when. You can talk about athletic specimens like Braxton and Terrell Pryor, but realistically speaking, when's the last time Ohio State had a pure quarterback that had the skill set that Dwayne Haskins does? I can't think of one.
At least since Schleister, that was the last first-round pick the Buckeyes produced back in 1982, the then Baltimore Colts. That really illuminates how long it's been. And Bobby Hoying would be second on the list, behind Schleister.
Mike Tomczak, maybe.
Tomczak was the best, and that was, that's what, man, that's going back. That's like when I fell in love with the Buckeyes. It was 82 through 84 teams with Tomczak at the controls, Keith Byers. Tomczak had the best NFL career. He was undrafted or was taken really, really, really late, and that's back when they had like 10 rounds in the draft. I can't remember if he was a super late pick or I think he was undrafted by the Bears. He did get a Super Bowl ring as a rookie with the 85 Bears, but so I mean, Bobby Hoying in 1996, Hoying, was a 3-year starter for the Buckeyes. He was a third-round pick. That's been the highest pick for an Ohio State quarterback since Schleister in 82. I think Haskins will buck that trend and will be a first-round pick eventually. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 pick like Schleister was, but I do believe, like you're saying, this is going to be – and Troy Smith was a fantastic college quarterback and passer and all that because of his height. So for Buckeye fans that are wondering, like, what are we going to see from Haskins? We'll find out exactly what we're going to see. I'll tell you this, though. This is going to be the best threat at the quarterback position as far from a passing standpoint that we have seen since Troy Smith in 2006.
Except for that 3-game run where Cardale Jones was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, Dwayne Haskins has the ability to do what Dolo did during the title run, where every pass was a 60-yard bomb that someone just ran under. I mean, remember what Alabama did? They couldn't handle the just ridiculousness of his arm. I mean, he blew the top of that defense off. That was one of the reasons Zeke had the room he did to run in that game, because Bama had to respect the hell out of Dolo chucking the ball as far as he did. And here's the thing, too. I love Troy Smith. I was at Ohio State when Troy Smith was there. I was the exact same years that Troy was a Buckeye, right? 5 years, same 5 years. I mean, I was a redshirt freshman with Troy, right? All that other stuff. But, like, the truth be told, Troy Smith is not the physical specimen even in his prime that Dwayne Haskins is. And I'll tell you what we're going to see Kevin Wilson's offense ran down. There's no debate about that. This isn't going to be Dwayne Haskins runs the read option. Like, that's the dumbest thing I can think of, and it's not going to happen. If they decide they have an option package, there's another guy named Tate Martell that we haven't mentioned yet in this Bucknuts Morning 30 or whatever it's going to be. And he's going to have plenty of run in a situation where Urban feels like they need a running quarterback threat. But realistically speaking, this offense is going to look like the Oklahoma offenses that Wilson ran, or the Indiana offenses with Nate Sudfeld. I mean, really, you want an idea schematically of what we're looking at? Go watch Sudfeld's year where he had Jordan Howard in the backfield with him at Indiana, when they had some pieces at receiver there. And I know the talent level's not quite the same, but that's what we're going to look like schematically this year. And I am so excited to see that. And I am so excited that we're not going to rely on the quarterback run to get 1 yard when you have Mike Weber in the backfield. And it's just going to be fantastic. And I'm very optimistic about the chances for the Buckeyes this season. I learned my lesson last year predicting national championships in the spring. But there's no reason to not go into the season thinking Ohio State won't be in that very, very short list this year.
Tate Martell, other than Dwayne Haskins, has to be the happiest man in Columbus. He's now the number 2 quarterback. He's now a play away from being the starter. I know some people think, I'm sure Urban Meyer is going to tout this throughout camp, that it's a competition and all that. We all know Haskins is the starter, so let's just put that bullshit aside. But I love Tate Martell, though. I know people are, and that's I'm going to make that clear. It's not a knock against Tate Martell that I think Haskins is definitely the starter. Because I really like Tate Martell. I just know Haskins is definitely the starter. And people that are concerned about Tate Martell because of the spring game, get real with yourselves. I mean, you're all Ohio State fans. You've seen over the years guys play really well in the spring game. It doesn't mean anything, and vice versa. And when you take away what a player does best, which is his creativity, or if you get a fingertip on him, he's down, which was the case in the spring game for Tate Martell. Of course he's not going to look anywhere near like you would, but how many teams would kill to have a backup quarterback as good as Tate Martell? He's now 1 play away from being the starter. Hopefully Dwayne Haskins stays healthy. I think we're going to see a lot less zone read this year. But Tate Martell being, right. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but no, I really think we will.
Thank God. No, it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot less zone read this year, and thank God.
And but yeah, just finish up the show talking about Tate Martell and just what you expect out of him as the backup, and maybe am I misguided that he can be the starter this year?
Oh, I mean, I think Tate's going to have a package built in for him this year. I think there's going to be a spot where Ohio State's got first and goal on the 9, and Tate Martell comes in as the running threat, sort of the change-up guy. Here's the thing, too, about people concerned about Tate Martell in the spring game. How good did Braxton ever look in spring games? I mean, really, Braxton didn't get to do anything in spring games because you couldn't touch him. Terrell Pryor in spring games, he'd throw 1 or 2 pretty passes and way down the field. I was at that spring game heading into his sophomore year where he threw 2 deep touchdown passes after a really boring first half, and everybody left because that's what we wanted to see, right? But those guys were running quarterbacks who couldn't run. Tate Martell's a great runner. If you see the guy with the ball in his hands, he's a big-time player. And look, I have crapped all over the zone read the last year and a half. I've become absolutely sick of it. But you know what? It's a very good play when used properly. You just can't have J.T. Barrett run the slow zone read up the middle every damn play. So guess what? And that's not even a knock on J.T. That's just what I think Urban was most comfortable doing. And truth is, a guy like Martell has a little bit more shake to him than a J.T. He's the kind of guy that, hey, we'll see how his decision-making is on the zone read. But there's a spot for a running quarterback in Ohio State system, no question. And that's what Martell's role is going to be. I wouldn't feel fantastic if he had to start every game. Like if, something happened where our boy, Haskins got hurt. But I feel pretty good about saying that Tate Martell is going to be a guy who a lot of opposing coaches are going to have to game plan for before he ever sits on the field. In fact, he may not even get on the field in some games, and teams are going to waste time preparing for him.
I do have one more question for you. Are we going to, as Buckeye supporters, look back on this and regret the way this worked out, or is this going to be one of those where it's like, listen, this worked out great. Like Dwayne Haskins was phenomenal. Yeah, Joe Burrow did well wherever he ends up. But I know there's a lot of fans out there wondering that. Like, are we going to go look back on this and be like, oh, shit.
The way we look back on it and say, oh, shit, is if Joe Burrow comes into the Horseshoe this year as a member of Nebraska's team and beats the Buckeyes. I mean, I'm not discounting that as a possibility. I'm not happy that Burrow's leaving. I'm happy Haskins is starting. How's that sound? I think we as Buckeye fans are going to look at this and say, in hindsight, if Dwayne Haskins is awesome and wins a national title in the next 2 or 3 years, oh, yeah, totally the right move. If, let's say, Haskins has a good career and Ohio State wins 10, 11 games but doesn't get over that hump, and Joe Burrow looks like a stud somewhere else, then we're going to go, damn it, kind of the way we do about 2015 right now, right? Like 2015, we all look back on that one now going, well, Urban should have just picked a guy and stuck with him instead of just picking Cardell in the huddle at Virginia Tech, right? At the time, we had no idea. We thought it was the best problem in the world to have. It was the worst problem ever. And in retrospect, we know it. So, maybe that's sort of guiding our decision-making as a fan base. I know a lot of people are relieved that there's not going to be a back and forth between quarterbacks at this point. But in the end, I think we as Buckeye fans, until we have that hindsight, we're not going to know for sure. But I think right now, based on everything we know right now, this is the best path forward for everyone involved. And that includes Joe Burrow because he deserves to play. Even if he's not at Ohio State, he deserves to play. And I don't know how you keep Dwayne Haskins off the field. That's simple.
Absolutely. And now the Buckeyes know who their guy is. They can rally behind their leader, and they don't have to wait till the end of camp or the end of the first couple games of the season. They know who their leader is right now, going into summer conditioning, going through camp, and that's a great part of this whole thing is they know who their leader is. And another great part of this whole thing is Matt Baxendell's phenomenal. He is the people's champ. You can read his excellent column every Sunday on Bucknuts. It is the bucket. Thank you very much, my friend. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning in the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.